I'm going to show you how you could get a ticket to your favorite sports team's game and be able to get high quality professional looking footage using nothing but your phone. So my name is RJ Clay and I'm a professional videographer and editor here in Orlando, Florida. And these new iPhones have completely blown me away when it comes to quality footage as far as phones go. And I do have a special guest with me today. You know, she does not like to hang out by herself and I'm on daddy duty, so she is going to be kicking it with us. High five. Close enough. So the coolest thing about this entire video is this is going to be footage that anybody can get. I'm going to be showing you how you could just buy a ticket to your favorite sports team, go to the game, and get really good professional looking footage using nothing but your phone. No crazy lenses, no complicated buildups. No, we're talking your phone. I want to take you through the process, show you some of the amazing footage you can get out of this thing, how to capture it, and at the end of the video, we're going to go through some super easy setup, some settings you'll need to change, and other things that can make this whole process easier for you. And you're definitely going to want to tune into that because it's not just a matter of opening your camera app and recording. So let's get into it. So we got to start off with borderline my favorite part about sporting events, which is the pregame. So all of the shots of Tennessee and Alabama were shot in Apple Log, which if you don't know what log is, it's basically a flat profile that stores way more information in the colors, shadows, and highlights that professionals use, and it leads to a much better looking footage. Like this was shot in log on the iPhone 16 Pro Max, and this was shot just straight out of camera on the iPhone 12 Pro Max, both at the 5x zoom. It is a huge difference. Yes, the iPhone 16 of course does have a better camera than the iPhone 12, but you get the point. And believe it or not, like I said, pregame is one of the best parts of sporting events. For college teams, they usually have some kind of grand entrance a couple hours before game time where the band, the spirit teams, and players make their way into the stadium. People come out like hours before, so you want to do everything you can to get you a good spot. All of these shots you see here were shot in 4K, 120 frames per second, and that gives you the ability to get those buttery, smooth, slow motion shots that are just super cinematic. So you're gonna want to try and get reasonably lower than the subject that you're trying to shoot, not at eye level, so you can kind of go for that heroic angle, if that makes sense. Also, don't just get a stagnant shot holding it still as they pass by. Like, pick some cool looking players and like follow through with your shot. But make sure to get other important aspects like the fans, flag runners, cheerleaders are good to mix in, and also establishing shots. So like shots of the stadium from different angles. And while I wasn't able to get the close-up player warm-up shots I would if I was working a game, you can still get the cinematics of things like fireworks, the teams running out into the field. The entrances are usually really exciting. All of this ties into getting that atmosphere that we've been talking about, right? You want to do everything you can to bring those people into your experience as if they were there. And so now let's get to the fun stuff, which is the in-game shots. And now this is where I was completely blown away. I mean, the telephoto lens that you have on the iPhone 15 Pro, iPhone 16, that 5x 120mm equivalent was insane. Made it look like I was dang near shooting from the sidelines or like a broadcast cam. On that 5x telephoto lens, unfortunately, you can't shoot in 4K 120 frames per second on that lens, but the 4K 60, the slow motion still looks great. Hopefully we get that in a software update, or maybe they're saving it for the iPhone 17 Pro Max. As far as what to look out for, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. You want to shoot the action, of course, but make sure your focus is on watching and following the ball and try to keep it centered, which it's definitely easier said than done. When it comes to tracking the football, even on my professional cameras, I'm still working on improving this skill. But surprisingly, with the iPhone, I feel like I kind of had an easier time from this angle. But seriously, if you can follow through on the shots from the quarterback, following the ball all the way to the receiver, it adds like an element of suspense to it. It's a lot more exciting and it's really cool compared to just getting the quarterback throwing the ball and panning over to the receiver. If you got to do what you got to do, you got to do what you got to do. But it really is epic if you can do that. Another thing to seriously keep in mind is a lot of people will stop recording when the play is over. They made the catch, they got tackled, whatever. But you want to keep that camera rolling because some of the best shots you're going to get is player reactions after a good play. Celebrations, cheering, all that you get after a good catch or a sack or a good run is absolute gold. Make sure you keep rolling after the play is over. Also, if I could just say real quick, these videos take a ton of effort, especially this UCF BYU game. I went solely and specifically so I could get footage for this video right here, hoping it can help you out. So if this video does help you out, if you find any value in this, it would really help me out a ton. If you could leave a like, you know, any kind of comment, subscribe, really helps me on the algorithm. So appreciate you. We'll get back to it. And so back on the things to look out for, just like in pregame, you don't want to just solely focus on your players. So if you can get fans going crazy, people throwing their hands in the air, light shows and fireworks after touchdowns, all these things will bring your videos to life rather than just highlight, especially if you're recording from the same spot where you got your ticket during the game. That can grow stale real quick, and this can add some variety to your shots. Now, post game. Honestly, the Tennessee-Alabama game was the absolute perfect example that I could get for this right here. This couldn't get any better because not only did they win the game, but they stormed the field and ripped down not one, but literally both goalposts. And so just because this is Tennessee versus Alabama, I assumed, you know, they're probably gonna storm the field. So I went back to the 4K 120 frames per second on just the regular 1x lens and got a shot of the entire field so I could get that whole process of the players and then the fans running the field. I wanted to get that entire thing, right? And to add that little bit of flavor of bringing them right into the experience, a big tradition when it comes to the Tennessee-Alabama game is the winner lights up cigars after the game, right? Smoke them if you got them. That's the saying. And so I wanted to go around and capture all the fans who were lighting up their cigars and really looking for those once in a lifetime moments that people were having. So, you know, the people tearing down the goalpost, people crowd surfing. All right, baby went to bed. But yeah, that's pretty much how I went about shooting the game. But it really is important, like extremely crucial, to talk about the settings and setup. So we're gonna get into that now. Now, like I said earlier, this was all shot in Apple ProRes log. And the thing about that is the files are humongous. Like an 8-second video turns out to be like 2 gigabytes. So the solution to that is you have to record externally. And it's not an option. Like your phone literally will not let you record in log in 4K 60 and 120 unless you're recording to an external SSD. If you don't know what that is, it's a solid state drive, which is basically like a bigger electrical memory card, if you will. And so editing RJ here, and I can't believe I almost completely forgot to mention this, but there's a lot of complicated ways I see people using SSDs on the iPhone, and the easiest, most simple way I found is to put it inside a MagSafe wallet, pop that on the back of your phone, and then use a flexible little USB-C. Now, either way, this is gonna take up a ton of storage. And so like when you wanna take it into your editor, whether that be your computer, your iPad, whatever that may be, it's gonna take up a lot of storage. So you need to have that capability. But, and I have a really big but here, there is a solution. So you can use the Blackmagic camera app to record in a different format. You can record in H.265. And so that way you'll be able to record and have significantly less file sizes, and you won't even have to record to an external SSD. You can do that if you want to, but you don't have to because it doesn't take up nearly as much memory. So I'll say the quality isn't quite as good, but honestly, it's not any real difference that most people are gonna notice. You're gonna have to pixel peep to see the difference. And so now let's get to the actual settings inside the phone. Firstly, in the iPhone camera app, it has a habit of overexposing a bit. So I like to turn it down to like a -0.3 or -0.7, but that's just me. You don't have to do that. In your actual settings app, you'll need to go to camera, formats, and you're gonna have to use high efficiency in order to record at 4K 60 or 120 frames per second. Turn Apple ProRes on, and in ProRes encoding, select log. When you're in the actual camera app, you'll see ProRes log in the top left corner, and you're gonna wanna make sure that that is not crossed out. And then the top right, you'll see your resolution and your frame rate, and you'll just tap to change those. Now, go back to your camera settings, record video, and you're gonna wanna be shooting at least 60 frames per second at 4K. And I like to use enhanced stabilization to keep my footage smooth. I turn off HDR video if that's on because I want to use log. I turn off auto frames per second because I want it to stay at my selected frame rate, and I lock the white balance because you don't want your colors changing throughout the video. You don't want what your camera thinks is white to change while you're recording, because if your white balance is changing, then it's shifting all your other colors alongside with that. And then comes something kind of interesting, the lock camera setting. I like to have that on because as much as it would be cool to like be able to freely zoom in and out, like if you were on an actual camera, it's not the same on the iPhone because those 3 lenses on the back, whenever you're like zooming way in and zooming way out, your camera is having to switch lenses, and there's like kind of a ugly jolt that happens when you switch in between those. So it's really just best to pick what lens you want to shoot at and stick with it. Like how in pregame in the video, I was just using the 4K 120 at the regular 1x lens, and then during the game I was using the 5x lens at 60 frames per second. And lastly, I like to go back to my camera settings and preserve settings and turn it on for the camera mode, control menu, exposure adjustment, and Apple ProRes. And pretty much what preserve settings does is kind of self-explanatory. So any of those settings you go and change inside your camera app, like let's say you go to respond to a text message or scroll on Instagram, whatever, when you open the camera app back up, they will be the way you left them. And so now lastly, when it comes to actually converting your footage from that log to just a regular looking Rec 709, I found that the Apple conversion LUT, which was really hard to find, honestly I didn't really like it. I didn't like the way the colors looked. I didn't like how it still looked phone-y. So I used the conversion LUT from Terry Warfield. He did a really good job in making his conversion LUT. There are a ton of conversion LUTs out there that people are selling, but he offers his for free from his Patreon, so I'll leave a link to that in the description. Now if you want to see more of the actual camera gear that I like to take to NFL, NBA, and college football games when I go to really work them, go ahead and check out this video right here to where you'll see everything I like to use and how I like to use it as of right now, 2024. But aside from that, appreciate you guys for checking out this vid. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or requests, feel free to drop them below. Aside from that, like, comment, subscribe, all that, and I guess I'll catch you in the next one. So I'll at you.